finding the inverse function. When we have a function that is one-to-one, then the inverse of the function will also be a function, and we call that the inverse function. The notation for the inverse function looks like f to the negative first power, but what this really means is f inverse of x. Now, in order to find the equation for the inverse function, we first write the original function using the x and the y variables. Then we want to swap the x and y. Everywhere you write an x, you want to replace it with a y, and everywhere you write a y, you want to replace it with an x. Then we'll solve that for y, and then we write the equation for the inverse function using this f inverse notation. So, let's look at this first function. F of x equals x to the third power plus 1. Before we can do anything, we need to determine if the function is one-to-one. So remember what we know about cubic functions. Remember that cubic functions are going to have the, oops, that's not a very good axis there, are going to have the shape like this. Now you can sketch the graph in your TI-81 calculator or TI-84 calculator if you would like to, and do a horizontal line test. This function is one-to-one, so I'm going to write it as y equals x to the third power plus 7. If your original equation has the function notation instead of the y, just use the y right there. So I have y equals x to the third plus 7. Now I'm going to swap my x and my y. So it'll be x equals y to the third power plus 7. So I swap, then I solve for y. So to solve for this y, I subtract my 7 from both sides of my equation. So I get x minus 7 equals y to the third power. So since this is y to the third power, in order to solve it for y, I have to take the third root on both sides. So this will give me the third root of x minus 7 as my inverse function. So I write it using inverse notation. F to the negative first power means the inverse function of f is the cube root of x minus 7. Now here we have a rational function. The rational function in this case is also one-to-one. And again, you can determine that by graphing it in your TI-84 calculator if you don't have the graph. So here's my function. I'm going to write it using the y instead of the f of x. 2x minus 5 goes in the denominator. Now, I swap my x and my y, which is going to give me x equals 3 over 2y minus 5. And now I want to solve for this y. Since this is a rational equation, we're going to solve for y by multiplying both sides of our equation by 2y minus 5, because that's what our denominator is. So we have x times 2y minus 5 equals 3. When we multiply this side by 2y minus 5, they cancel out. So we still are trying to solve this for y. So I'm going to distribute my x. That'll give me 2xy minus 5x equals 3. I'll add the 5x to both sides. So I have 2xy equals 5x plus 3. And then I'll divide by 2x. So that will give me y equals 5x plus 3 over 2x. I also can simplify that a little bit and write the 5x over 2x plus 3 over 2x. So that would give me 5 over 2 plus 3, 5 over 2 plus 3 over 2x. I don't know if you would need to do that or not. I like leaving it in this form. So I would write f to the negative first